Storymakers, Sean Avery here with the next lesson in the Children's Book Council Make Your Own Storybook competition. The last time we were together, we discussed book pages and how to sew pages together to create strong sections that you're going to bind into a hard cover. Now, this session is all going to be all about binding your pages into a cover for your book. Now, guys, this is just one way of binding book pages into a cover. In the links below, you'll see in the resources, there are a whole bunch of different ideas for creating a book and binding a book, so you don't necessarily have to follow the exact instructions that I'm putting out, but definitely this is a really good way to do it if you want a nice, solid feeling hard cover book. So without further ado, I'm going to go to my desk now and I'm going to get that sorted.
So today we're going to be focusing on just creating the hard cover for our book. Now, another name for a hardcover book is a case-bound book. So basically what it is, it's three parts, the cover. You've got obviously the back cover, you've got the spine, and you've got the front cover. And those are actually three separate parts, three separate pieces of hard cardboard that you then wrap in something like fabric, if it's a fabric-bound book, or paper, if it's like a book like this, where you've got an image that wraps all the way around. And then over the top of that, you'll have the end papers, which kind of seals it all up and makes it look really pretty. We're just going to focus on actually cutting out our templates today. Now, obviously, you're going to need some hard card. I've got, you can go buy a professional hard card. I'm not going to go too fancy. I'm just going to have some cardboard. I'm going to recycle some cardboard from an old cereal box. So I got an old box of cornflakes here. So you open it out and you can see that I will have plenty of space to create the three parts of my cover. So over here, these are my two sections of my book, my 32 pages. Remember, we spoke about sections last time. Another name for these sections over here is a book signature. So that's just a grouping of pages. So basically, I've got the first, I think the first 20 or 19 pages completed. I actually went through and after the last session, I went and added a few more stitched sections there just to make it extra strong. Now these, and I've also added the words in, so I decided that I'd like to print them out. But anyway, we're not really focusing on that today. We're just focusing on getting the correct size. So I'm going to get one of the sections and I'm going to put it right in the corner and I'm going to trace around it using a pencil. So let me just grab a pencil. And this is going to be for the front cover. And I'm just doing it kind of roughly. I'm using the actual boxes, the cereal box, to line things up. So it just makes it a bit easier. I don't have to trace so much. So here we go. Down, around. So this is going to be my front cover, this area. This is going to be my back cover on this side. That's my back over there. Now I'm going to create my spine. Now, guys, the way to get an accurate measure of your spine is you're going to need to use a ruler. So I've got my ruler and I'm going to put my two sections together so I can see. Okay, so this is how thick my book is going to be. So I'll take my ruler and I'll measure it up. Looks like our spine should be about, it's probably about 50 millimeters, the spine, maybe 60 millimeters. I'm gonna go ahead and be safe and make it 70 millimeters for the spine. So I'm just gonna it's obviously the same height. It's completely the same height as the cover, but I'm just going to Make sure that it's the same height here. Measure this, go this across like that. Just like so, and I'm going to measure 70 mil from this line. So if you get a bit confused with the measurements, just ask your mum and dad to help you out with this one. This can be a little bit tricky. So 70 mil, measuring it down. Okay, so we got the front cover, spine, back cover. But if you notice your hardcover books, you'll see that the spine or the cover has a little bit of overhang over the pages. That's just to make sure that the pages are protected. It's about half a centimeter or 50 millimeters of extra overhang there. So I'm going to add half a centimeter of overhang for my spines. I'm also going to make sure that I add half a centimeter to the sides of the book. I don't have to do it where the spine is, but I do have to do it on the other side where the book sort of opens up. So I don't need that extra half centimeter over here, but I do need it on this side so that it can overhang and protect the pages. So I'll sort that out. I'll go measure that up, and then it's time to cut and snip. And here we have it. Got our 3 parts of our hardcover: front cover, spine, back cover. Right. Before you start the next step, just double check that you've got a little bit of overhang. Not too much, about half a centimeter on each side. So yeah, you can see the cardboard is a teensy weensy little bit bigger than your pages. Okay, that's great. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap this, and we're gonna wrap it in some paper today. But like I said before, you can use cloth if you want to. If you want to make it a bit sturdier. I'm just going to use brown wrapping paper. I know brown, kind of boring, right? But I figured, you know, it's like a book about a warthog and mud, and there's lots of brown in the story, so brown just kind of makes sense to me. But yeah, you can use any kind of funky looking wrapping paper if you want to, or, you know, create your own custom paper, that's fine. I'm going to put this piece of paper down over here on my table. Try to flatten it out the best I can. Get quite a big piece. Make sure that you've got quite a nice border, nice big border around the edge, about an inch around the edge. And make sure it fits, so that looks like it's pretty good. Next, you're going to take some PVA glue and a paintbrush. Don't use a good paintbrush. Use a not so good one, because PVA glue can be a little bit harsh on them. And what you're going to do is you are going to stick this down really, really well. You're going to make sure that you cover the whole thing. So let's actually, you know what we'll do? We'll get some scrap paper as well. And we can move that around just so that we don't get glue all over the place, so we can kind of protect our surfaces a little bit and we don't have paper sticking to paper. So cover the whole surface. Don't be stingy with the glue. Use plenty of it. Get it all the way to the corners. Make sure you got heaps of it. This kind of glue, guys, you can find this at your local shopping center, Big W, Coles, Woolies, in the craft section. Sometimes called Elmer's glue. So it's just a PVA or a wood glue will do. But a glue stick doesn't really cut it for this kind of stuff, just because you want it to be really tight, otherwise it's not going to work. So you can see why I've used my scrap paper here, because I want to get it all the way to the edge, but I don't want to get it on my other brown paper. Okay, now that I've covered this completely in glue, I'm going to flip it over And I'm going to stick it down onto my piece of wrapping paper. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other two pieces. Now that you've got your front cover, back cover, and your spine glued down, you're going to want to leave the glue to dry for probably like 2 hours, and just to make sure that it's completely set. Now, the paper will start to kind of bend up, especially if you put a lot of glue on there. So what you want to do is maybe put down some scrap paper. There we go, got some scrap paper on top. And then using some really heavy books, you want to make sure that this lies flat. So that's the reason why we put the scrap paper down. You obviously don't want to get any glue on your books. So that should weigh it down. Well, get my trusty African animals book. There we go. And leave that, yeah, a couple of hours should do. Alright. I actually left these books squashing down this cover overnight just to make sure it's really, really stuck down on there. These will probably be a bit stuck too. Alright. Oh, they're not. Good. Okay. Cool. Now, what we're going to have to do is trim around the edges over here, but not all the way right to the edge of the cardboard cover. We're going to have to leave a little bit of space because we're going to have to wrap this cover up and over onto this side over here. So what we're going to do, take a ruler, take an X-Acto knife or a Stanley knife, about that much, about an inch. Just run your blade down it. You can also use a pair of scissors. Just find it a bit quicker to use blades. Okay, so now you've got roughly an inch edge around it. You're gonna have to now cut little chunks out of the corners. It's gonna be sort of like wrapping a present. So snip and snip. So you're gonna go ahead and do that around all the edges. Okay guys, now I've cut all these little edge pieces off, including the spine over here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue along this edge over here, going to fold it over like that, kind of like I'm, you know, wrapping up a Christmas present. Then I'm going to put the books back on top to let it set. Now guys, I should have probably mentioned this before. If you want to have a really, really smooth cover, you're gonna want to get basically like a credit card or something and really push it and flatten it to get it all flat. But I actually wanted a slightly textured cover to make it look like a bit jungly, like a bit of mud. So this was intentional for me, but I probably should have mentioned that if that's not the effect that you want, then yeah, make sure you smooth it flat when the glue's wet. And you can sort of see how my hard cover's sort of coming together now. So I'm gonna go get my glue and I'm gonna start painting it on. So again guys, brush, put a bit of scrap paper under here so that you don't damage your tabletop. Really don't be stingy with the glue. Use it well, get it all the way to the edges so you don't have any bits flapping off. It'll also reinforce your book a bit. Flip that over. So yeah, what I mean at this point, guys, I've used quite thin paper here, so I will get a few wrinkles in it, but if you use slightly thicker paper and you get something flat like a credit card or a scraper or something, you can really smooth out those bubbles and those creases and make it super smooth. But it's not so important for mine. I kind of like the texture in it, so that's pretty good. That's gripped quite well straight away, which is nice. I might not even need to leave it overnight. I'll leave it for a few hours, it'll just be fine. But if you're using slightly thicker paper, or if you're using fabric, you'll definitely need to leave it for a couple of hours. So flipping that over, and I'm just going to keep on going all the way around the edges. Alright, you can see all of the little flaps have flapped over and been glued down to the edge over here, and our hard case-bound cover is pretty much ready to go. I'm gonna stick my front cover down on the front here. You can get a bit fancier with your front cover if you want to. I've pretty much just used the same image as I've got on my title page for the front cover. But you could draw directly onto the front cover, or if you just want to if you've got a really nice patterned cloth front cover, you might not even want to put another image on top of it. And then I've got my back cover over here with my blurb on it. Really important, you got to have a blurb. It's part of the book design, so that's part of the competition requirements. So let me just glue those down really quickly, and then next time we'll talk about how we're gonna put these signatures, these sections, how we're gonna fix them into the spine, and of course putting down our end papers over here, because we need this area covered up and looking really nice to finish off the final design.
So there you have it, guys, how to make a case-bound hardcover for your book. Now, it does look a little rough and a little ugly at the moment, but I promise it does get better when we start putting it all together, which is exactly what we will be doing in the next session. We'll take that hardcover, we'll take the sections or the signatures, make a text block, put it all together, and it's gonna start to look really nice and feel really solid too. Happy creating, guys. I will see you all next time.